What's up, guys? I don't know how this is gonna work out. I didn't get my computer back. Uh, the guy ended up having to. My computer guy ended up having to go out of town, and so I didn't get my computer back. So I'm here on my cell phone, and I've never done a live stream on my cell phone before, so I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Um, but I guess we'll see how it goes. It's always a hot mess over here at Break the Hostility 1971. And it's not breaking the hostility like I claimed on Paul's channel, which was ridiculous. But anyways, if anybody wants to jump in, that's, I'm hoping that I can press the right. Well, I'm hoping it even shows up. My screen is so much smaller on this thing than my computer, so I don't know if it'll show somebody in the in what is it in the back of the studio there. So we'll just have to see what happens. But basically, I just wanted to talk about a few different topics, that my wife and I share often, and it's interesting because she has this viewpoint that, we go to New Jerusalem, after all the chaos that we have to endure, we go to New Jerusalem, and everything's like forgotten and everything's behind you, and now, you're in this, you're in the presence of the Lord and the, the saints of the Lord, these people, who have been, basically discipled, right, by Jesus and the 12 apostles and all that, and she kind of thinks that you'll just forget about your old life, and I have a different point of view on it, and I kind of think that in the same way that when the Lord calls us to Him, and we have to work out. Like he works on the inside first, right? Like He works on us in our hearts, and He shows us like our own iniquities. He shows us, the things that we've done wrong, and that we came to the table and we didn't present ourselves well, and he shows us that kind of stuff. And so the work of the Lord is, it starts on the inside, and then it goes to the outside. And I was saying that I believe that, when we come in the presence of the Lord and, we get to sup with Him and all that, but there's going to be, this kind of self-revealing time where we have to, whether we know it or not, I'm sure we still have tons of issues in us, right, that we haven't dealt with. And so I think there's going to be inward work first. And that it doesn't just go away just because you go to the kingdom. It doesn't go away. It's still there. Now you have totally correct counsel. You have ones who are going to give you the truth in total love, total compassion, total long suffering, and all that stuff. And then you're going to be able to work these things out from your inner being. And then you shine brightly and the light comes out. And I think that's, in the same way that happens now when the Lord calls us to Him, it's going to be that, times 1,000 in the presence of the Lord. But, I don't know. But anyways, I'd really like somebody to come in and have a chat. I had one guy in the comments that and he said he wanted to toss some things out at me, so I'm hoping he shows up and wants to come in. I don't, like I said, I'm on my phone, so I'm not sure if I'm going to see whether somebody's trying to come in the chat, come into the to talk with me or not. I'm hoping that I will be able to. If not, this is going to be really a really short live stream, So the link is in the comments. For anybody that wants to come on, all you have to do is click on that link there. I posted it. It's under Break the Hostility 1971. And it says StreamYard.com underneath there. And so if you want to come in, oh, there's that brother. Let me see if I click on him. No, he's just got a little shamrock there. Maybe that's not him. I don't know. But if everybody's going to be shy, I guess what I could do is I can read from 2nd Ezra's chapter 13. It's really awesome. It's a Gog and Magog prophecy, and it's really quite compelling, actually. Let me see if I can find where did I put my glasses? Where'd you guys put my glasses at? Oh, there they are. All right. So, okay. So I got a question in the chat already. He says, what will happen to Christians in Gog and Magog? Well, that's really interesting, because I think is it in 13? I think it's actually in 13. So what I was going to do is I was just going to read 2nd Ezra's chapter 13, and it kind of answers that. And then also there's a spot in the Bible that I can find. Again, like I said, I don't have my computer. I'm on my phone, and all my files are on my phone. But I can't get to my files, or else the live stream stops or whatever. So I'll try to go off my memory of Scripture and see if I can find that. But there's actually in the our time prophecies in the Bible, there's actually the talk of a holy highway, and the Lord talks about leaving a drink offering or a food offering for His people. So, but yeah, so let me address. I don't even know how to pronounce that, dude. But Lodawig. How's that? I probably jacked it all up. But anyways, I'm going to address that first, and I'm just going to read 2nd Ezra 13 because it's really awesome, and it's not very long. So, all right. So this is Ezra, because Esdras, 1st and 2nd Esdras is Ezra having, especially in 2nd Esdras, having a conversation with an angel of the Lord. So it says, so the angel told Ezra to fast for 7 days, and then he would, come back and talk with him some more. So the 7 days passed, and the following night I had a dream. In my dream, a wind rose from the sea and set all its waves in turmoil. As I watched, the wind brought a figure like that of a man out of the depths, and he flew with the clouds of heaven. Wherever he turned his face, everything he looked at trembled, and wherever the sound of his voice reached, everyone who heard it melted as wax at the touch of fire. Next, I saw a countless host of men gathering from the four winds of heaven to vanquish the man who had come up out of the sea. I saw that the man hewed out for himself a great mountain and flew onto it. Though I tried to see from what region or place the mountain had been taken, I could not. Then I saw that all who had gathered to fight against the man were greatly afraid, and yet they dared to fight. When he saw the hordes advancing to attack, he did not so much as lift a finger against them. He had no spear in his hand, no weapon at all. Only as I watched, he poured out what appeared to be a stream of fire from his mouth, a breath of flame from his lips, with a storm of sparks from his tongue. These, the stream of fire, the breath of flame, and the great storm, combined into one mass, which fell on the host prepared for battle and burned them all up. Of that a numerous multitude, suddenly nothing was to be discerned but dust and ashes and a reek of smoke. I was astounded at the sight. After that, I saw the man come down from the mountain and summoned to himself a peaceful company. He was joined by great numbers of men, some with joy on their faces, others with sorrow, some coming from captivity, and some bringing others to him as an offering. I woke up overcome by terror, and I prayed to the Most High, O Lord, from first to last, you have revealed those wonders to me and judged me worthy to have my prayers answered. Now, show me the meaning of this dream also, how terrible it will be to my thinking for all who survive to those days, but how much worse for those who do not. Those who do not survive will have the sorrow of knowing that the last days those who do not survive will have the sorrow of knowing what the last days have in store, yet without attaining it. Those who do survive are to be pitied for the terrible dangers and many trials which those visions show they will have to face. But perhaps after all, it is better to endure the dangers and reach the goal than to vanish from the world like a cloud and never see what will happen at the last. Yes, he replied, I shall disclose the meaning of the vision and tell you what you ask. To answer your question about those who survive, the answer is this. The very person from whom danger will then come will protect those exposed to the danger if they have good deeds and faith laid up to their credit with God the Most Mighty. You may rest assured that those who survive are more blessed than those who have died. This is what the vision means. The man you saw coming from the heart of the sea is he whom the Most High has held in readiness during many ages. Through him, he will deliver the world he has made, and he will determine the destiny of those who survive. As for the breath of flame, the fire, and the storm you saw issuing from his mouth, so that without spear or any other weapon in his hand, he crushed the onslaught of the hordes advancing to fight. Against him, the meaning is this. The day is near when the Most High will start bringing deliverance to those on earth. Its panic-stricken inhabitants will plot hostilities against one another, city against city, region against region, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. When that happens, and all the signs that I have shown you take place, then my Son will be revealed, he whom you saw as a man coming up out of the sea. At the sound of his voice, all nations will leave their own territories and their separate wars and unite as you saw in your vision in one large host, past counting, all intent on overpowering him. When he takes his stand on the summit of Mount Zion, then Zion completed and fully built will come and appear before all people corresponding to the mountain which you saw hewn out, though not by human hands. So isn't that awesome? Because, in the vision, Ezra couldn't see the location of the mountain. And if you remember, if any of you guys watched my videos or saw my interview with Understanding Paul at Understanding Conspiracy, then you will know that in Isaiah chapter 4 that there is a veil that was cast over the mountain and New Jerusalem. And so it's interesting that even in Ezra's vision that he couldn't see the location or the region of where the mountain was. And then here we read in around verse 35 that he says that Zion completed and fully built will come and appear before all people corresponding to the mountain. So, Mount Zion. So, and if you remember in Isaiah 25, I showed y'all that the mountain is unveiled and that the Lord lifts the veil that's over all the nations. And so we have exactly the same storyline happening here, which is totally amazing. And it's interesting, too, if you noted in the previous verse, in verse 33, actually, that that all the nations will leave their own territories and their own separate wars because of the sound of his voice. So isn't that amazing that we'll hear his voice throughout all the world, and then all the nations will leave all their fighting and all their stuff, and then they're going to go and attack Mount Zion and actually be at war with the Lord. So so I just wanted to read that for you guys. I thought it's really cool, and for for you guys that are listening, I would totally check out the rest of this. Well, I'm going to read a little bit more because there's another really cool spot in there. I'll just keep going, and then you'll see. I'll just read whatever. I'll just read the rest of it because it's just so cute. Cool. Q. It's so cute, man. That's a code word because I really work for the Masons, right? My son will convict of their godless deeds the nations that confront him. This will accord with the storm you saw. He will reproach them to their face with their evil plotting and the torments they are soon to undergo. This is symbolized by the flame. And he will destroy them without effort by means of the law, and that is like the fire. You saw him assemble a peaceful company. You saw him assemble a company which was different and peaceful. They are the 10 tribes that were taken into exile in the days of King Hoshea, whom King Shalmaneser in Assyria made captive. Carrying them off beyond the river Euphrates, he deported them to a foreign country, but they resolved to leave behind the gentle population and go to a more distant region, never yet inhabited, and there, at least to be obedient to their laws, which in their own country they had failed to keep. As they passed through the narrow passages of the Euphrates, the Most High performed miracles for them, halting the flow of the river until they had crossed over. Their long journey through the region called Azareth took 1.5 years. They have lived there ever since until this final age. And there's something interesting about that whole Azareth thing. What's up, Armor Up? There's something interesting about that whole Azareth thing because I looked it up, and the only thing that I could find on it, unfortunately, was that Christopher Columbus actually was looking for the region of Azareth, and that he thought that it could be in the Americas. So I don't know. It just a little side note. But that was all that I could really find on it. I do have a subscriber that actually sent me a picture of a map, an old map that has Azareth in it. So that was interesting. And I wish I could show you that picture, but like I said, I'm on my phone and not on my computer, so there's that. So now they are on their way back, and once more the Most High is halting the river to let them cross. That is the meaning of the peaceful company you saw assembled. With them too, are the survivors of your own people, all who are found inside my sacred borders. So, that's also lending credence to the fact that we are definitely talking about, and their time, that in after the tribulation, in their time, that the millennial kingdom began, and it has been here on earth, and that we have an our time prophecy where we're actually going to mingle with the survivors of the tribulation, the ones who are on with the Lord at Mount Zion in his holy land. So yeah, that's totally cool. When the time comes, therefore, for him to destroy the assembled nations, he will protect those of your people who are left, and then display to them countless portents. So, in answer to your question, brother, so apparently we'll be protected in some way or another. That's not to say that some of us won't die. I don't know. I don't know if it's overall protection for everybody during the Gog and Magog time, or if or it's ordained for some people to have to die. I have no idea. I mean, I could see the mercy of the Lord sparing some all the turmoil. Like it said city is going to fight against city, nation against nation, region against region, kingdom against kingdom, and all that. So obviously it's going to be pretty hardcore. And and I speculate, this is a Jasonism, but I speculate that it's going to be like some kind of famine, worldwide famine that would cause people to fight, right? I mean, I don't really see anybody getting pulled away from their couches unless, their children are starving. So, that's kind of, like I said, it's a Jasonism, but I just wonder if that's what's going to cause the, we kind of already see, right? Bill Gates buying all the farmland. They wiped out another whole lot of chickens some months ago, claiming they had the bird flu, and all that. And then, if you remember last summer, all the cows that they killed, saying that, oh, they died, it was too hot for them and they all died. Well, we've had hot summers before, and cows don't just start dropping like flies, So, anyways, well, let me read what Little Season Survivor says here. That map curator that has high def upload of this map on his website. This is info. You need to find the map. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll check that out. Like I said, I'm on my phone, so I have like all these limitations right now. There might even be people like trying to get in, trying to come on the show, and I don't even know if that's Armor Up. There, you guys go check that man's channel out. He's got a great radio voice, man. He really does. He doesn't show his face in his videos, but it's a joy to just listen to the man speak. But let me see if I can get. Have you heard of Dew Line around Alaska? I don't know what that's about. If you want to come on and talk about it, that'd be great, because I don't know anything about that. But I'll definitely, if you don't want to talk about it, I'll definitely check it out. Oh, hey, Amanda. Yeah, I figured it was you. So, yeah, man, let's see. Let me see. No, it's not showing anybody. The screen is so small, like I have an iPhone 8, so I have like the smallest screen possible. Let's see, is there anybody? No. So what? Nobody wants to come on and talk? I'm not going to sit here and talk to myself forever. I promise you that. But yeah, and also I did want to just a little bit. I just wanted to give Paul over at Understanding Conspiracy props, man. He was just awesome, man. I really appreciated that, brother. He was so he was just so humble and kind and patient, and I thought that was really cool. That was probably one of the best interviews I think that I've had was with Paul. So Understanding Conspiracy, check him out if you haven't yet. Let's see, Elizabeth Joy, can you please speak on what Tartarus is in the Bible in contrast to Sheol? Oh man, Elizabeth, that's a tough question, girl. I don't know. You know what? I don't know enough about that subject to really make a solid biblically based comment on it. But you have my attention, and even just posing the question and me not being able to answer it makes me understand that hey, maybe I should look into that, so I know I know more about the Lord's creation and what the Bible teaches about that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let's see. I think we got somebody. Oh, Armor Up wants to come on. Okay. Yeah, let's get that brother in here. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Jason?
Not much, not much.
Not getting an echo or anything.
I told you you had a great voice.
Yeah, I was just hopping on to say you're too kind and stop that nonsense. But yeah, I was popping on to promote the talk you had with Paul, and then as I was waiting backstage, you talked about the talk you had with Paul. But that was a great conversation. If you guys haven't seen that, go over to Paul's channel. Oh, he's in the chat now. Cool. Howdy, Paul.
Yeah, hey,
Understanding
Paul.
conspiracy. So what a conversation. That was awesome. And I love Paul's Paul's just an awesome guy with interviews. He lets the people speak. I recommend watching everything he's done, but definitely check out the interview with him and Jason. That was great.
Yeah, that was a good time for sure. So, what have you been up to, man? What have you learned lately? What's going on?
Oh, not much. Same old, same old. Tending my animals, working, dealing with the joys of life. But yeah.
Like my dad used to say, I'd call my father and be like, "What's going on, Dad?" "Oh, just sitting around sharing the air with the rest of yous."
Yeah, when you get old like us, it's
yeah. Just sharing the air with the rest of yous.
Yeah. My dad used to always say he gets up every morning just to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Yeah,
that's a better one though. That's better than my dad. Yeah, my dad.
Say a lot of other things too. We won't repeat on air, but times were different back then.
Yeah,
we had a little more freedom.
My dad was a ray of sunshine, man. He call him up. "Hey, Dad, what's going on?" "Oh, just sitting around waiting to die."
That's another thing Dad would say every time he got the paper. He'd open to the obituaries and say, "Well, I ain't dead yet."
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I do the same thing, like rubbed off.
Yeah, I know it. I
ain't dead yet. I'm good.
It happens, man. It happens. But yeah, no. So I was talking about one of the topics that I kind of wanted to talk about today was and this is just pure. There is some biblical things that we could look up for, the our time prophecies and what's going to happen, and all that stuff. But I was just wondering what your thoughts are on like what do you how do you think it's going to be coming into the kingdom of the Lord? Like your first, you finally arrived. Like if you don't die and you're physically going, which it's interesting because there is a prophecy about that. I want to say, see, I can't get to my files because I'm not on my computer, but I think there's a prophecy about that somewhere between Isaiah 29 and Isaiah 35. And so I was just going to go ahead and look that up. That talks about this highway, the holy highway, and that even the fool will not turn the wrong way. Like you will hear a voice in your ear saying, "This is the way, walk in it." And it talks about the Lord giving a drink offering or a food offering, leaving a drink offering, a food offering for those he loves during the time of Gog and Magog and all the hate and all that stuff. So it's very interesting. But what are your thoughts about? Do you think you could go to the kingdom of the Lord in your physical body, or do you think that you have to die and go to the kingdom of the Lord? Like, what do you think about that?
Well, that's a good question. You know me, I'm not as big into the prophecy as you guys. I like hearing about it, but I don't study it as much.
Right.
I mean, just off the top of my head, from what I have studied and from what I know, I don't think you could go there in your physical body, but we do have Elijah and we do have Enoch who were taken in their
which
physical
were
body.
total exceptions. Yeah.
Right. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think for the majority, I would say no, it'll be when we get our new bodies, our bodies that conform to what Jesus's body is like now. We'll get a body like his. So I think that's what you'll have when you enter the kingdom. But it's all speculation. I mean, we really don't know. I think it's more important to be glad that we'll be there. What state we'll be in, at that point, is it really going to matter? I mean, when it really comes down, are you really going to care whether you're actually physical, actually partially? I mean, I don't think it'll really matter. My dog's going to join the conversation with it. My daughter just walked in, so the dog got to tell me that someone's here, even though they live here. But.
Right. Yeah.
But a quick answer though
just
for
doing his
Elizabeth.
Job.
Yeah,
he's job.
Yeah.
He's
three,
clocking in, man. He's
only
clocking
the ones.
in.
A quick answer though for Elizabeth Joyce on the Tartarus Sheol question. Just again, just my opinion from what I've read and studied. Tartarus is what we're told is where the angels are kept until judgment. Sheol is normally a term for the grave, the actual physical grave. And the other term that's used, Gehenna, all three are used as hell in our Bible, which is unfortunate. They do that with a lot of things. Also, the world, when they use the term world, it can mean 3-4 different things. And so Gehenna is more where the burning, where they threw all their trash and it burned forever and ever. It just constantly burned. You know, it didn't burn forever and ever, but it was always on fire. So they say terms like forever in the Bible don't always necessarily mean forever. It just means a long time. You know, Jonah was in the belly of the whale forever.
Right.
You know, he was only there. He wasn't there forever. You know, so
it's that scripture says he was there forever.
I believe in the one translation it does say that somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, which one offhand? But there's other places where stuff says forever that don't actually mean forever. It just means to another period. I don't know how to explain it, but it means it does have an end. Not necessarily that forever don't mean forever. I'm just saying every time we see that term, we need to really take a lot into consideration.
Sure.
Like I don't believe people's going to burn forever because of what they did now. I think that forever means a refining, hopefully. Again, this is all my speculation.
No, and it's totally possible, you know, and well, it's interesting what you said about, you know, the augmented bodies or the, you know, the glorified bodies or whatever. I was actually
looking for glorified. Thank you.
Yeah, glorified body. Yeah, I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine from Poland, and he always he's an outside the box thinker, and so something that has, you know, kind of a little bit, it's been a little bit frustrating, honestly. But okay, so we have Paul, right, saying that they will be taken, you know, in a whirlwind, in an instant, and in a twinkling of an eye, they will be transformed, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we have that, but we also have scripture talking about the millennial kingdom, talking about that they will plow their own fields, that they will grow their own food, that they will wear their own clothes, right? So, you know, to me, there's a physical aspect of needing sustenance still, and needing clothes and all that stuff, right? And
well, we know that from Jesus himself. Once he came back, he still had a body. He still wore clothes. He still ate. He still did all that. But he also walked through walls that were locked and doors. You know, so again, it's all speculation.
All
we can do is speculate. But yeah, absolutely. I think we'll still enjoy food. I think we'll still wear clothes. I mean, according to what Jesus did afterwards, you know, that's our only example.
Yeah.
Go by.
Well, and there's also this idea, right, that so according to the promise to one of the churches in Revelation chapter 3, it says, well, we could just go there, but it says you will be a pillar in my temple, or I will make you a pillar in my so here it is. So it's to the Church of Philadelphia, and it's in chapter 3, and it's the 12th verse, and it says, "The one who conquers, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God," which I believe that's New Jerusalem. And I think it kind of works that out as we get to the end here. "In the temple of my God, never shall he go out of it." Never, those words, "never shall he go out of it. And I will write on him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which comes down, descends down." So it's not a floating city in the air. It descends down from my God out of heaven, "and my own new name. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches." So Adam and I were talking, and we just wonder, because you have the camp of the saints too, right? You have the the outlying towns and cities outside of New Jerusalem. You have the land, right? That's outside of New Jerusalem, which I think are the camp of the saints. Okay, and so I just wonder if there's like two, because it seems to me that Paul and the ones who were martyred, the 144,000, the apostles, that they got the express pass to New Jerusalem, and then it seems to me that others had to walk to New Jerusalem according to Scripture. So
Interesting.
Right. So is it possible that maybe the ones that suffered the same death as Christ, right, like being martyred, that they, they're given these heavenly bodies, these angelic glorified, maybe bright shining bodies, I guess you could say, and they actually reside with Christ in New Jerusalem. And then is there a second tier of people who they only get to actually go inside New Jerusalem at appointed times, maybe feast days or whatever, by the Lord, but for the most part they actually dwell in the lands of the Lord. I don't know. It's just a speculation, but it just seems like it's very possible that there could be like two tiers of people.
Yeah, definitely can see where you're coming from. And we're all told about different rewards also. I mean, it's mentioned in the Bible about, building your rewards in heaven, not on earth. So we know there's different levels of rewards. What that means,
right? And even
who knows, but it definitely seems like there's levels. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, because he even says, like, when in talking about the believers that he will bring onto him, he says, at times he'll say, even the least of these. So what is that? So there's obviously some kind of ranking going on on one level or another. I get, and that might bode well with what I was saying about, like I feel like, you don't, it doesn't just get like all your past life doesn't just vanish and you just become, now I'm somebody else. You know what I mean? I just don't see that happening because there's still, we're created in the image of the Lord. And, I know when he called me back to him, like, I learned Jason a whole lot more because of what he was doing on the inside of me, circumcising my heart, like basically cutting open my heart and showing me and me being completely disgusted with me. And then, so I get torn down and then I have to learn and then I have to get built back up by the Lord. And then I have to learn how to love me as his creation, if that makes sense. And
absolutely makes sense. And I think that is the hardest thing new believers and even old believers have to overcome is forgiving ourselves, because he will definitely lay bare what we've done and we'll realize how horrible we've been. At least I have. And by the sounds of it, you have. And I'm sure a lot of believers have.
Yeah.
We realize how far short we fell. I mean, we ain't even close. When he breaks you down, and I mean, you can go listen to my testimony. It talks a little bit more about it, but yeah, when you come into the presence of the Lord and realize exactly how far you have fallen, and it's an experience in itself. And the hardest thing I think for us to overcome is to remember that we've been forgiven. We need to forgive. In fact, I just did a video about forgiveness a week or two ago on my channel. And the hardest people I think for us to forgive is ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
I was saying that, a lot, that, it's so easy to say, well, I'm forgiven by the Lord. That's the easy part, and it shouldn't be, but it is, I mean, if you really think about the weight of that, right. And what it actually means that you have been redeemed of your sins, when you actually sit and ponder that for a minute, that that the Lord himself gave himself as an offering for you, that's just totally huge. But I said even the harder thing is to forgive yourself. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's great. I'm glad that we're in agreement on that, and that's awesome,
for
man.
sure. And like I said, once you've come to the understanding of how low you were, it just makes what he did so much more unbelievable.
Right.
And to realize
Absolutely.
that he covered that, and that's just in my life, and how he did that for all humankind. I mean, that
Right.
right there is mind blowing.
I know it. I know it. But so my point was that I just feel like, like we have deeper stuff that we haven't even touched on. Each of us as an individual, And so I see it, and I might be wrong or whatever, but I don't think that the aspect of Jason just vanishes and everything that I've experienced goes away. I think that it would be more fruitful and more beneficial, to me, becoming a true friend of God, is if once in the kingdom, you know, I'm gonna go through that cleansing process again, right? Like now my robes need to be washed clean, and he's gonna show me even more about myself, and in the same, it's gonna be more of the inside work, so that that bright shining light can come on the outside, and once I respect myself as his wonderfully made creation, and I learn his love, now I'm going to be in right standing and the proper love in truth towards others, and so I just think that continues. Like, it's not like everything just, and all it is gone. I think the growing continues to a place that you never thought that you could arrive at, through the help of Jesus, and think about this: those people have been with him for 1,000 years, so their wisdom and their peace and their love and their knowledge and all that stuff, is got to be totally incredible, and you're mingling with these people who have been in the kingdom of the Lord for 1,000 years, and it's just like, it's just going to be amazing in my point of view, and
Absolutely.
and and you're going to get all the dirt out of you, and therefore, and therefore you'll be a better friend of the Lord. You'll be a perfect friend of the Lord. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
it all is showed in salvation, through our justification, which is, of course, what happens when we believe and, give our lives to him. We're justified. But then we are sanctified the rest of our life, which is what we're talking. You're growing in wisdom, you're learning, you're asking, you're constantly being led by the Spirit. That's all called sanctification. And then in the end, of course, we got the glorification. That's when
Right.
that's when we will have our robes washed white, as you said, and everything else. And I was thinking about when you said about some will be a pillar never be removed. If we think about what a pillar actually is, what does a pillar do? It holds something up. It's very stable. It's very strong. It's
Absolutely.
unmoving. It holds something up. So it will never be removed. So I think it means people who have, like you said, maybe the ones that have been there 1,000 years, they are pillars. I mean, they're not going to leave. You're not going to leave. If you've been with Jesus 1,000 years and realize the truth of it, you're never going to leave. You're going to be a pillar. You're going to hold firm to it. You're going to hold it up. You're going to testify about it. I mean, perhaps that's what it's talking about, why they will be a pillar.
Sure.
A strong foundation for the gospel, for the
yeah, I mean that's what I gathered, but it was just interesting that it says there'll be a pillar in the temple of my God, right? And I agree with your description of a pillar. And then but then it says, never shall he go out of it.
Exactly. Why
Basically,
would he
the
go out of
temple
it?
of God.
Yeah. Why would you go out of it once you realize the truth of it? So
yeah,
it makes
once you're in
you would
there,
never go
right?
out of it. I mean, I myself have said I ain't never going back. I got a long way to go, but I ain't going back. So I will never go out of it either. Although I'm not talking about the kingdom yet. I sort of am, because the kingdom is within us. The kingdom is also amongst us. The king,
Sure.
there's many views of the kingdom. There is the physical kingdom, but I believe there's also, the spiritual kingdom, or else how could it
Absolutely.
be in us? We
Right.
ain't got a mountain in us.
Right.
So
Right.
we've
Yeah.
got
Absolutely.
two facets of the kingdom also we got to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Tangi. So getting back to, okay, so, some believe that you have to die in order to enter the kingdom. And I just wonder if that isn't necessarily accurate. Like maybe some die, but some don't. I just read Second Ezra's chapter 13. I don't know if you were on for that or not. But Ezra talks about the ones who will survive the Gog and Magog event, and how it would be better for them because they get to see the outcome, the fruition of the end result, in that now the kingdom of the Lord is going to reign. And he says it'll be worse for the ones who die, because they'll see it, but it'll be too late for them, and they won't get to enter in. So that was really interesting. But also, okay, so I've been wanting to do this study forever, and I just can't bring myself to it, because there's a lot of things that require speculation, and I really hate it when mainstream pastors do that, and so I feel like I would be a hypocrite if I did the same thing. So I'm kind of avoiding it like the plague now, but it still keeps coming back in my conversations. But anyways, Isaiah 29 through 35 to me is an our time prophecy, although it does talk about Egypt, it talks about the Assyrians, it talks about things like that, but there's certain timestamps in those chapters that lead me to believe that it's an our time prophecy. But anyways, so in chapter 35, which is the last chapter, I believe, in that little segment, it says this. It says, the wilderness, the caption is, the ransom shall return. And then 35, it says, the wilderness and the dry land shall be glad. The desert shall rejoice and blossom like the crocus. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice with joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given to it, the majesty of Carmel and Sharon. And I always tell people in prophecies that you have to remember that they're dealing with the lands that they know of their time. You know what I mean? Like, and it will always be that way. It seems to me like the Lord really hits the crux of the matter. Like, even when he's talking about a people, sometimes he's talking about a principality, because it's that principality that has driven the teaching of the people in a direction that's outside of the Lord, right? So he'll address that specific principality instead of the nation that he's actually talking about. It's very interesting. Anyways, strengthen the weak hands and make firm the feeble knees. Say to those who have an ancient heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your God will come with vengeance, with the recompense of God. He will come and save you. Then the eyes of the blind will be opened, the ears of the deaf unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap like a deer, and the tongue of the mute sing for joy. For waters break forth in the wilderness, and streams in the desert. The burning sand shall become a pool, and the thirsty ground springs of water. In the haunt of jackals, where they lay down, the grass shall become reeds and rushes. Now here's where it gets interesting. And a highway shall be there, and it shall be called the way of holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it. It shall belong to those who walk on the way. Even if they are fools, they shall not go astray. No lion shall be there, nor shall any ravenous beast come up on it. They shall not be found there. But the redeemed shall walk there, and the ransomed of the Lord shall return and come to Zion with singing. Everlasting joy shall be on their heads. They shall obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away. So I don't know. And then there's other verses that which I think are for the tribulation time, but in the same way, the tribulation time had the valleys being lifted up and the mountains being low, so that the path would be an even path, on the way to the Lord. So, it lends a little bit of credence to the thought that maybe some had, after the tribulation, that some had an express pass, and then others had to walk that journey. I don't know.
Yeah, I could definitely see where you're coming from. As you was reading it, though, it
has
out of me is it talking about our walk now, possibly? Because it says, the redeemed, we're the redeemed at the moment. We're going to walk that narrow. I mean, it's talking about a narrow path. It's talking about the eyes of the blind being open. Jesus said, it talks a lot more like Jesus.
Like that, yeah. I mean, the spiritual aspects of walking on the path, right?
Right.
Yeah, like walking the walk. No, I agree with that.
We walk in the way of holiness. We're told to be holy as he is holy. I mean, all that is pretty much reiterating exactly what Jesus taught.
Yeah, absolutely.
The unclean aren't going to go on the path because they want no parts of it. They're going to wander. They're going to stray.
Right.
But we're not going to stray. Even us foolish ones who are still learning, we're still fools compared to the wisdom of the Father. We're not going to err because we're going to listen to the Spirit. As you said, it's going to tell us, walk this way, don't go that way, go this. To me, it rings more true of our journey now.
Right. And I would that would be, I would submit to that for sure. Also I see that, because how like the full preterists will say that everything's spiritual, and that the stories didn't really happen, they're just spiritual lessons, and all that, and I beg to differ, and I say that I think that that the physical and the spiritual are parallel with one another.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
couldn't agree more. There's always a physical and spiritual aspect to everything.
Yeah, and so so that's why I'm saying, that is this a an actual highway, that people actually have to walk on? There's other verses about, unfortunately, they're in my phone, and I don't remember them all, but there are other verses about walking this highway. I think a lot of them are after the tribulation and the return. Right? Because Jerusalem's always been at the center. It's never left. It's always been there. New Jerusalem, old Jerusalem was wiped totally out, and then New Jerusalem came down over the top of it. I think that I don't believe that that's Jerusalem over there, or or Israel and all that stuff. It's all just
I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah, it's all just illusions and bread and circuses. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so there are other. I think I have in my files. I have like 12 references to the Holy Highway, and it's very interesting. But it gets into, more detail. The other verses do more detail about this journey that they have to take. So I don't know. It's interesting, but I'll get off that. Let's talk about something else.
And it is a physical journey right now also. I mean, we are physical.
Oh, absolutely.
We're on this journey. So it has both physical and spiritual aspects, even in our own lives.
Absolutely. I agree with that. 100%. 100%. Let's see here. We got more in the chat. We have been duped. However, there's an awakening going on. No, absolutely, there's an awakening going on, Joyce. It's been going on. Probably. What do you think? Since 2015-ish, when a lot of folks started waking up. Maybe a little bit earlier, 2014.
I'm sorry, my wife was showing me the little Bambi that's sleeping in under a rabbit pen at the moment. Must have lost his mummy. She was just showing me a picture.
You got squirreled. You got deer.
He'll be all right. But cool. We got deer everywhere. I'm surrounded.
Oh my gosh, they're doing so much construction. I don't know why they're doing so much construction. Don't they know the world's about to end? I mean, I don't understand. But they're doing so much. We live in a small town. Well, it used to be a small town called White Bluff. It's in Tennessee, and they're doing so much construction now that I am seeing. And this has never been, but I'm seeing multiple deer crossing the road in the middle of the day.
Yeah, well, I live in the woods, so it's normal for me to have deer all over the place. But
yeah. But I mean, typically in our area, anyways, the only time you really see deer is in the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm out doing my route,
right,
lots and lots of deer. Yep. You got a question there, I believe,
Yeah, I was looking at that. So I guess he's saying, I got to put on my glasses. Hold on. Could I hear an overview? What, where in the word we are and why? What, where in the word we are and why? Yeah. All right. Let's see here. I guess the best
quick shout out to my little friend. I'm sure she's listening, so sending my love to our little friend.
No, she's actually took the dog to the creek.
Oh, well, tell her I said howdy.
I will absolutely do that. Yeah. She's right. I should have had her. I should have gave her a wrench and told her she's got to manage that chat for me.
Yeah, because we got such trolls around here.
Yeah. Sometimes
got a pretty good chat. Once in a while you get them, but they make it fun.
Blessed. Yeah, I think they do too. Yeah, I don't mind.
I never chase the trolls away. Let them learn. They want to troll. Let them troll. You know what I mean?
So Joyce says
unless they start getting belligerent and just downright nasty with women and such, then they got to go.
Yeah. So Joyce says that's a long conversation, but I'm gonna make it simple, man. So Revelation chapter 20. I believe that we are after the millennial reign and that we have entered the short season of Satan. So Revelation chapter 20, verse 7, and when the 1,000 years are ended, Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations that are at the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. Their number is like the sand of the sea. And they marched up over the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city, which is New Jerusalem, because it's married to Jesus, so therefore it would be a beloved city. But fire came down from heaven and consumed them. And the devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet were, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. So why were the beast and the false prophet already in the lake of fire? Because they were thrown in 1,000 years earlier at the end of the tribulation. And so I believe we're in the short season of Satan, and I believe we're waiting for possibly a great famine, but according to Second Ezra's, cities are going to war against cities, regions against regions, nations against nations, kingdoms against kingdoms, and then we will hear the voice of the Lord from his throne, and then everyone will leave their individual battles, and they will band together. And as it says in Revelation chapter 20, they will march up over the broad plain of the earth and surround the camp of the saints in the beloved city. And so I believe that that's what we're waiting for. And then in Isaiah chapter 25, we see that that the Lord reveals his mountain, lifts the veil that covers his mountain, right? Because Mount Zion is the tallest mountain in the world. In some cultures they call it the pillar to heaven, and so it's huge, right? And so we just can't see it right now because it's got a cloaking device on it of some sort from the Lord. We don't know what that is. It's probably like a Wakanda kind of situation, maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying. And but in Isaiah 25, it does say that veil will be lifted. It also says that the veil will be lifted in Second Ezra's chapter 7, starting at verse 26, and it also says it in Second Ezra's chapter 13, and just read the whole chapter for that one. So we have multiple accounts of this veil that's going to be lifted, and that's over the mountain and over the glory of Jerusalem, and we can't see it. And there is an account of the veil being put there in Isaiah chapter 4, which is only 6 verses. So go ahead and read that, and you'll see that that is correct. So yeah, it's totally amazing. It's totally amazing.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree with your assessment of the situation. Absolutely. I think we're in the little season. I think at this point there's pretty much no doubt about it if you really study. So.
Right, or just observe the world around you.
Yeah, exactly, or just look at what's going on. I mean, if you can't see the world as upside down as it possibly could be, they go evil good. I mean, just wow. How anyone can't see where we're at is beyond me, or at least see the fact that the bad guy is 100% in control of the situation at the moment. Father's got everything in control in the long run, but there's no doubt who's running this world.
Yeah,
look at it.
and then you have all the and some of their theories on it I don't agree with, but if you look at the mud flood stuff and the ancient buildings, the Antiquitech stuff, I mean there's more than enough evidence to suggest that the narrative that we have been given, the historical narrative of our world that we have been given, is totally, especially from starting in the Middle Ages to now, it is garbage, man. It's total garbage, because there's no way. Horse and carriage, and they built those just absolutely palatial, beautiful, buildings, and then not even to mention the ones over in the Middle East and in Asia and all that are carved right out of rock. I mean, it's absolutely astounding. It's amazing. What's up, Todd? Yeah, I know you know what I know. but yeah, it's yeah, and so right, and not even to mention, not even that, but you can look at every aspect of how the world works, with the system, especially in America, with the system, with it's very interesting because they use statutory law against us, right? Well, that's called the color of law, right? So if you go to the Black's Law Dictionary and you look up color or colorable, it says something that appears to be real but is not. So that falls right in line with the way Satan's going to rule over you. He's going to do it through illusions, because he's the liar, and he's been a liar from the beginning. And so here we are. We're getting pulled over for going 5 miles over the speed limit, right? and they're claiming in the court, they claim that to be a crime. But in common law, the only way you can commit a crime is if you damage somebody's property, you injure somebody, or you impede on their liberties. And that's it. That's the only way that you can commit a crime in common law. Now there's civil crime, right? There's, with business and all that, and that's legitimate as well. But that's a whole different thing. And a state can't hear its own civil case. So if the state is the prosecutor in a civil case against you, it has to go to a different court of law. It can't be a state court. So it's very interesting. But it's the beast system, man. Everything's an illusion. Money, fiat.
That's what I was about to say. Everything revolves around money. That right there ought to tell you who's running the system. You can't serve both.
Well, right, and
the fact they want you to. It's all about money. It's all about, you need money to eat, you need money to drive, you need money for everything.
But it's not even real. It's
a bank. Paper.
A banknote is a promise to pay. I mean, it's not even legitimate. It doesn't have any substance to it.
They're even trying to make it more unreal by making it all crypto. I mean, they're not even wanting you to have a hunk of paper anymore.
No.
Like I said, all you have to do is have eyes to see, and
right. But that's easier said than done, right? Because you've been given eyes to see. I've been given eyes to see. But we have to, and this is what I tell people all the time. You have to remember when you didn't have eyes to see.
Exactly.
Just
like them. That's right. A lot of people forget. They want to get haughty and talk down to people, and it's like, why? You were the same guy or girl however many years ago. You were in the same exact boat. Now you think you're better because the Spirit showed you something?
Right.
That's
you
called
didn't
pride.
do it.
That's called pride. You just fell right into the enemy camp. It's a shame, but that's the way a lot of
what's that Paul writes? I'm going to hack it up horribly, but he says, why do you act as if you didn't receive it? Talking about wisdom and all that, from the Lord, right? He's like, why are you behaving as if you didn't receive it?
Even Jesus admonished them when they came back about, we can cast out demons, man. They're listening to us. You wouldn't, but this is up. And he says, wait a minute. Don't be so glad that you can cast out demons.
Yeah.
Be glad your name's written in the book of life. That's what it's all about. That's what we're supposed to be talking about. I mean, yes, we need to talk about other things, but the fact that we can see these things, or we could cast out demons, or whatever we can do thanks to the Spirit, that still should not be what we're focused on. We need to focus on the fact that we've been redeemed, that we've been saved. That's so much more important than anything. And a lot of times we forget to even mention that stuff when we're lost in our speculations, let's say.
Right.
I know you don't, but I'm just saying overall, a lot of people, they just focus on the end times, or they focus on this, or they never say anything about the gospel. They never say anything about needing redemption. They never see anything about repent. They don't say anything about any of that. And that's what Jesus was saying. Why are you rejoicing over that? You need to rejoice over the fact that I called you in the first place, that I'm here. You need to rejoice in all that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's in my little home church, which is like us and another family. That's actually our main goal right now is to get back to our first love, because we feel like we have gone off the beaten path a little bit and gotten more into these other things than actually remembering that I mean not that we don't honor everybody that we meet or anything like that, but I think that some of the joy has come out of it, right? Like it's not as joyful. Our day-to-day isn't as joyful as it was when the Lord was first speaking to us about all this stuff, and we were learning all these new things about ourselves, about each other, about the world, and all that stuff. And you know, and once all the wonder of, you know, all these things we're learning and everything started to settle down and the dust started to clear, you know, you're left with kind of like, at least for me, that I was pretty much sitting around waiting for something to happen. You know, I was just like, there's really no point to anything. I don't need to write music anymore. I don't even know why I'm working. I don't know why I struggle and strive to do really anything, because it's all going to be freaking done soon. So I'll just sit here and wait for that to happen. You know, and that's a horrible place to be in. Honestly, it's no earthly good. But I wanted to hit on Todd's. So he says, but 100 years ago, Satan wasn't ruling. I agree with that. The world and the laws. Oh man, my glasses were still messed up. Man is running the system. Okay, so I see what you're saying. I agree with you. You know, because man, you know, everything they're doing now has already been done. It's already been written about, the practices, the way they did it, you know, using usury, you know, as a tool to take control of the people by compound interest and all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. They did it. They did it in Rome. They did it in Egypt. I agree. You know, that principle, those principles of gaining control over people have been from time immemorial, right? But at the same time, you know, the fact that all of that came back after the tribulation, right? Because we have this, you know, the tribulation was so destructive that, you know, it almost took out the population of the world. According to the Bible, you know, it says, it says that man was as rare as refined gold. And then you have, you know, had I not cut the day short, nobody would have survived, you know. So we have these accounts, you know, and my take on it is the Pangea, right? That you know, here's the Lord's little circle of awesomeness at the center of the earth, and at the end of the tribulation, that great earthquake came and went and pushed everything out away from him a little bit. And, you know, so that would have been super traumatic and lots of lives would have been lost and everything. But as the population started becoming more robust, right, and they're digging things out of the dirt and they're finding, you know, the old ways, you know, the ways not of the Lord, and they're finding that information, and they're worshiping the demons again and the fallen angels again and all that stuff, which I think started happening right around the 500s. You know, we were 500 years later, we got a decently robust population again, and all the old crap is being dug up out of the ground, and you know, now we have more information. This is all Jasonism, by the way, unless I find some books that I can share. But you know, this is just me thinking about how things might happen, and so yeah, and then right around the 1700s, you know, all these, maybe even a little bit earlier, you know, all these old, you know, things started coming. These systems of things started rearing their freaking ugly head again, and started enslaving the people once more, in my opinion. You know.
And I would just add, in my opinion, even though, I mean, I know he's talking about a physical, or whatever you want to call it, an actual representation of the word Satan, the Antichrist, or whatever term you want to use.
Sure.
But those humans, let me see the question in here. Yeah, the man is running the system, he says. Absolutely. But those men, I mean, the term Satan just means an adversary. So are those men not Satan? Are they not going against the Lord? Are they not adversaries? I mean, they're a Satan too. There's multiple Satans other than just the final big dude who I don't even think Satan's such a bad term to use for him.
Right.
Satan's little season's a bad term in my opinion.
What's the other one? Math. So in Jubilees, the book of Jubilees, they call him Masthema, I think it is. I
I'm not sure.
I think it's called Masthema. I'm gonna grab that book. Go ahead, Ron. I'll be right back. 2 seconds. It's right there.
Oh, great. Leave me hanging. But no, basically what I'm saying is Satan can rule even though he may not physically be on the earth at the moment. His influence, I think, may still be there. And the people who are influenced by him, even if he ain't there, they're still influenced by Satan. They're still adversaries to the Father. So, in that way, Satan was still ruling the world. Although the physical fellow we might want to call Satan, whatever it may be, may not have physically been ruling the world. His minions were still definitely well at play, as we can just see. I mean, it's obvious. All we have to do is look.
Yeah, nice toss. Were you just saying that even if he wasn't loosed like in the 1700s,
Right.
that his minions were still rocking it out?
Absolutely. There's always been non-believers. There always, unfortunately, probably will be, and they're all basically Satan. They're all adversaries.
Right, and they're still getting, and they're still getting information from the spiritual realm,
Right.
just like
the wrong person they're listening to, or whatever you want to,
right,
the wrong entity.
just like the Lord, puts into our minds information and helps us along our way. They can worship those beings and get the same stuff, just like Ron said, the opposite end of things, right? The wrong side. Absolutely.
Because we see once he's released, then it says he's going to deceive the whole world. Well, we can definitely see a ramped up deception in our recent history. I mean, the world's always been messed up, but there's no doubt now it is. The whole world is deceived. They think you can be a girl, a boy. They think you can rape children. They just think you can do whatever you want anymore. I mean, if the whole world isn't all but deceived at this point, I don't know what to tell you. It's so deceived.
Right. I mean, the argument could be made that, well, we've been deceived for a very, very long time. I mean, oh my gosh.
But not to this degree, in my opinion. I mean, back in my day, there were tent revivals. You go to a fair, you couldn't help but hear about Jesus. Right. At your fairs, in school, you couldn't help but hear about Jesus.
Right.
Yes, the world's been messed up since the 1700s, but it's been far from this messed up.
Oh,
you can't even speak about Jesus in school anymore. My one granddaughter got in trouble for taking her Bible to school the one time. It's like the world is way more deceived than it was from 1700 to 1980s, in my opinion. Just to get in that area. That whenever they took the Bible out of school, whenever you stopped seeing your tent revivals at every fair, I mean every fair had a tent revival. Everyone.
Yeah.
It was constant. You couldn't help but be exposed to it.
Right.
Now you've got to search him out. You ain't exposed unless you're looking at, I mean, you got to go find Jesus. He ain't being shoved at you anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Not that shoved at him might not be the right word, but you know what I'm saying.
No,
he's a lot harder to find than he used to be. And that's probably why I said, seek me when you can find me, because there's going to be a time when you ain't even going to be able to find him. And I think we're getting pretty close to that time.
Yeah. No, I'm in agreement, and it's really because in my opinion, you can see the residual. I think that at least for me, that I see the residuals of the millennial reign, right? Like if you think about this, like even in the up to the early 1900s, men still stood up when a woman entered the room. You still took your hat off when you went into a house. People people up to what 1850s or so used to bow to each other when they saw each other, and that to me is all honoring, right? It's all honoring thy neighbor the way you need to, and showing honor and putting yourself, beneath that person right away by the bow, right? And we don't do any of that anymore, and I think you can actually see residual of the millennial reign even in television, in like the old television shows. They were always giving reference to scripture. There would be
they'd be
the shows
I grew up on were way different than the shows you got nowadays.
Yeah,
You know, they mentioned
absolutely.
the Lord, they mentioned Jesus, they mentioned, like you said, they at least they had wholesome values. And I'm not saying
Well,
they weren't corrupt in their own ways, but even then, the father was still putting his values into a lot of them. You got like Leave It to Beavers and you know those type of shows.
yeah,
They
but
did
what?
have they did have an underlying morality to them.
Right, but they had to because people still had morality, you know? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
so they had to so what they did was they injected Jesus by good morals, good standards, you know, in a main character. What the heck? Oh, that's my rooster. Okay. They inject you know, these morals, this good character, strong character, you know, in the main character, and all that stuff, right? But at the same time, they'll twist it, right? So the guy, you know, Bible believing, you know, got Lord believing, you know, got good morals and all that stuff, but at the same time, he's like a super patriot,
Yep.
or
Or he drinks a little too much.
he drinks a little too
Or he might
much,
not treat
or
his wife as well.
all
That's what I
right,
say. Yeah, yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm not saying TV was blessed back in the day, far from it. But
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just saying
yeah.
the father used it more to keep his message alive, even though, because I believe the father can use anything, no matter, even if it was made for evil, he can turn it to good. I mean, he does it with the internet, he does it with TV, he does it with songs, he does it with all kinds of stuff. We just got to be
Sure.
open to it.
Right, right,
But it was definitely a lot more morally influenced than it is now.
right.
Now it's
But it
anything
had to
goes.
be. It
Now they
had to
push.
be.
Yeah, it absolutely had to be.
Yeah.
People weren't going to put up with it.
Right.
But now they're just all asleep. As I say, if the world is way more deceived now than it was back then, way more, way more deceived.
Yeah, I would say. I would say. You know, even in, you know, now that doesn't matter. I'm not gonna talk about Isaiah 29 through 35 again, Ron. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not
You
gonna
did
do
have
it.
a question about Isaiah 61, 3-5 from J
Oh,
Nunn.
oh,
You want
really?
to
I didn't
cover
see
that
that
quick?
on there. How far is that up? And you know, let's see.
It's
What?
only like
Oh,
three. It's only a couple of
oh,
verses.
I found it. I found it. Isaiah 61, 3-5, especially verse fair. Where does that fit in with your timeline? All right, let's check it out. Let's go to Isaiah. Oh, I have something cool to show you guys too, that I thought was really interesting. All right, so Isaiah 65. If I can find it, because I can't go into the notes of my phone. Okay, so what are we here? 3-5, especially verse 4. And a people who provoke me to my face continually, sacrificing in gardens and making offerings on bricks, who sit on tombs and spend the night in secret places, who eat pig's flesh, and broth of tainted meat is in their vessels, and who
Wait, I think you
say,
might. Where are you at? I don't think that's the right one. You
"Oh,
61?
I'm on 65. I'm on 65."
Okay, I was going to say I'm following along. I'm like, wait a minute. I know you
My
read
bad.
different than King James, but that was way different.
That was so different.
Hold on.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
I'm there now. We're all on
All
the same
right.
page. To grant those. Oh, and by the way, I think these are our time prophecies. I think, if I remember correctly in my studies. But let's see here. They might. Let's see. 3. To grant those who mourn in Zion, to give them a beautiful headdress instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the garment of praise instead of a faint spirit, that they may be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that they may be glorified. They shall build up the ancient ruins. They shall raise the former devastations. They shall repair the ruined cities, the devastations of many generations. Strangers shall stand and tend your flocks. Foreigners shall be your plowmen and vine dressers. Yeah. And that whole thing about they shall build the ancient ruins and all that stuff. So, um, throughout prophecy, the Lord's promise is that that they will live in the land that they now call waste places, right? And these places were ruined from war, because of war. the many wars that have been on Jerusalem. And I think what that is I did this study on warring, ancient wars and stuff like that. And a lot of times, what the enemy would do is before they actually attacked like the main city, in this case we're talking about Jerusalem, before they actually attacked Jerusalem, they would go ahead and they would burn all the crops, all the fields that surround the main city, right? Because that's usually how it works. You got a main city with walls. That's the safe place. Then you got the outlying town cities, and then you have the farmlands, right? So you have the city with the walls. That's your place. That's where you go for safety. But then you have the outlying cities or towns or boroughs or whatever you want to call them. And then that's your suburbs, and then you have the farmlands that are outside of that. And so what they'll do is they'll go through and they'll totally destroy all the farmlands first. They'll burn down the storehouses, and what they're doing is they're depleting the food supply. And so they're going to make this show of force. They're not actually going to siege the city yet, or the castle or whatever. They're going to wait until you guys start running out of food. Then they're going to come in and they're going to start taking over, because everybody's run out of food. They're hungry. They're probably fighting against each other, for who's going to get the last morsel of bread or whatever, So that's typically how a war works. And so, the Lord's promise to the survivors of Israel, right? The saved, the ones, the redeemed, that his promise was that they would build up the waste places again, that they would go back and make this place beautiful again. And so that's what that is.
So according to the timeline, then, are you saying that happened during the 1,000-year reign, or that's still to happen?
No.
You're saying that was all right. Yep.
Right, because we also just read in Second Ezra, chapter 13, that which is an our time prophecy. It's the Gog and Magog prophecy. It was saying that they would come upon Jerusalem now completely and its lands now completely restored. So that again is confirming the promise that the Lord made, that they would come back in to the land that they now call the waste places, and that they would rebuild them and that they would dwell there, and everything would be super awesome with lots of food, and the vineyards would yield something like 100 times, and all the fruits and everything. It really sucks that I don't have the ability to get to my files, and then I could just look up these scriptures and read them to you. But yeah. And then so there was that. So that was specifically verse 4, which I think we touched on. Yep. The devastations of many generations, right? Because Jerusalem, was a troubled city, for I would say what do you think, about 1,500 years or so?
Yeah, at least,
somewhere in there.
According to what we got, anyway.
Right.
According to our best guesses, yes.
Right, with the limited books that we have, right?
Well, that and the timeline that we have, we don't really.
Yeah, and the timeline, right? But so there's this one verse. I think it's actually, oh my gosh, am I going back to Isaiah 29 again? Really trying to avoid it, but there's this one verse in there that I just think is really cool. So I think, like I said, I think on Isaiah 29 is an our time prophecy. I think it's here. I want to say it's here. No, it's not going to be. Of course, you're not going to be. So there is a passage. Maybe somebody can if they know it, but it's very interesting. So there's a passage in one of these our time prophecies that says, but it's talking about the end of tribulation, and the beginning of the Millennial Reign. And it says, who are like these that float upon the clouds and alight in the windows? Meaning, like, they come in through the windows. And the first thing that I think of are the Zeppelins that they had taken away from us. I don't know. Like, what do you think? What do you think, Ron?
I don't know. I never really thought about that one, but
Yeah, because we got to find the verse, right? I can't remember where it is.
I think I found it. I'm trying to look for it for you. It looks like it's, let me see, Isaiah 60, verse 8.
Oh, it is in the 60s. Okay.
60, verse 8. Who are these that fly as a cloud and as the doves to their windows? That's the King James. All the flock of
there it is.
Together. The names and names. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, you guys are way more into the prophecy stuff than me. So.
Yeah, I used to not be, and then and Ashley, Ashley is like super into the prophets. Yeah, so she really got me on board with the prophets, and and what's interesting is once you have this understanding of the Bible, the understanding of tribulation already happening, and the two ends, right? The two ends of ages. You got the tribulation, and then you got the our time end. And once you start to realize that, man, the prophets make way more sense. Because when I was first going through this, and I didn't have it all together yet with as far as the Millennial Reign already happening, all that kind of stuff. I was reading the prophecies, and it was like so difficult for me in the beginning to discern. Okay, are we talking about the exile of Babylon? The big exile. Are we talking about the tribulation? Are we talking about the end? Like, it was very difficult to discern and decipher. But as I started, going through the prophets over and over and over again, and like really learning the stories and stuff like that, it really started opening up like a whole new world. And I can see why the prophets are right in the middle of the Bible, because they literally are the glue that takes the New Testament and the Old Testament and puts it right together and gives you a complete understanding of what's going on, basically. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yep.
Absolutely. But anyways, well, we've been going an hour 32, and
yeah, I think I'm gonna have to hop off soon. We're gonna take the grandkids to the fair. Today's the last day of the county fair, so we gotta go up there and look at the animals and all that fun stuff. So.
Yeah, I think we're having a fair too, but we don't go. I don't like crowds, so I don't.
No, I don't. I just go look at the animals and get a hot sausage, and I like to look at the animals.
The only time I like crowds is when I'm on the stage.
Yeah, I don't like.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Ever myself. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Well, I play and write music, so I like doing that. That's cool. That's a good time. But anyways, all right, man. Well, I think
thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for coming on.
So you wouldn't have to talk to yourself and
saving me from talking to a screen. Yeah. Oh, it was only going to last about 10 more minutes if somebody didn't come on. I guarantee.
That's what I figured. I was like, well, I'll hop on. Since
I really appreciate it, man.
All right, I'm gonna hop off. Father's love and blessings
brother.
to everybody in the chat. Don't forget to pray for the children, because they sure need it nowadays. That's about it. I will talk to you later.
All right, man. Be blessed.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for showing up, and and I'll have an actual study happening here eventually. I just I've been working a lot, and all work and no play makes Jay a dull boy. So hopefully I can get back into the studies. I'd imagine once winter hits, right? Because that's when we kind of hibernate. And so I'll be hitting more books, getting into more books, and showing y'all different things that I've discovered in other books. And You know, and I'm hoping to, you know, now that you know, I've been on a few different YouTube channels, that, you know, my subscriber list is definitely increased, and, you know, I'm really hoping that, you know, folks will reach out and share what they have, share their information, and maybe we can get some of them on too, and talk about that stuff. So, all right, well, y'all be blessed. Thanks for watching little old me, and and have a blessed day today. And I don't know about you guys, but the weather out here is absolutely fabulous. So if it's the same thing, then shalom,
my little friends.
Oh, and I just noticed. I just wanted. Todd wrote the Pangea thing, Jasonism. Oh, yeah. Okay, Todd. Yes, Todd helped me out with that understanding. Is what he's trying to get at right there. But I'm saying it's a Jasonism because I'm mentioning it on the channel live to everybody. So, you know, it's not something that is totally in the scriptures. It is possibly a little bit, right, with the moving of mountains and all that stuff, and the islands and all that. So it's possible. But yes, Todd was the one that gave me that understanding. So there's that. You're welcome, Todd. All right, y'all. Be blessed. Bye.